No, so I think that part of that goes into why we have such fractured families now, right? Because like you were saying, with the decrease in masculinity and such, I think that men they have that tendency to want to be masculine and such, but we've kind of demasculated men in society and such to the point where it doesn't make sense for me to go about continuing this thing because I know that I'm not going to be accepted in this space. I want to go about instilling all these values and such, but everything that society is telling me, and potentially my spouse is telling me, is counter to what it is that I believe. So how do you go about actually rebuilding that? Because I think that it's a societal issue.
Right? Yes, absolutely.
Where you have to be able to impact a society, with the morals and such that it carries, or the ethics.
I feel like I tried not to interrupt you guys.
No, dude, man. This is conversation, bro.
Exactly. Okay. So, for manlyhood and just being a man, where do you think society sees what a man is, or what would they describe it as? Because when I look at it, I feel that they're accepting of everything these days. And I think because of that, that may be the influence to why a man who's slowly not becoming strong or slowly not becoming a leader is okay. So I feel like that's society's connection to what a man is these days. At its lowest form is what's accepted. So acceptance by society for some reason is one of the main factors of why things are changing the way they are, why they're going in the direction the way they are.
For sure.
But
Yeah,
at
the
same
standard
time,
is lowered.
I agree.
It is lowered, but even there's just so many different things that are accepted, right?
Yeah.
And,
Pretty sure pedophilia is going to be accepted too.
It is. I mean, dude, the fact that in the 90s, early 2000s, you talk about pedophilia, everyone's like, no, that's hell no.
Taboo, yeah.
Yep. And then now
nowadays,
it's like,
it's like,
you mean, what is it called? MAP?
Yeah.
Minor
Yeah.
attracted
MAPs?
persons?
Yeah,
I was
and you can't call them pedophiliacs anymore because that's
It's discriminatory.
discriminatory. Yeah,
I was like,
I'm like, shut up,
dude.
No.
No.
Go somewhere with that.
That's wild.
We'll
See,
go to war
and
over
it's the
that.
slow acceptance. That's exactly what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Exactly.
I can't change your mind overnight. If I'm smart and I'm gonna try to take over this country, you're not gonna do it overnight.
It's the frog.
little by little by little.
It's the
Absolutely.
frog boiling theory, right? So like you have the frog in the water, right? You can't turn up the heat all the way, otherwise it'll jump out. So you have to just incrementally, slowly increase the temperature until the frog realizes it's too late.
hot. Exactly.
We're boiled already. You're cooked.
Yeah, exactly.
My legs aren't moving anymore.
Yeah.
Nah, man. See, and I guess going to your point, I think that it's the expectation of men in society now, where because the
yes.
family has been so fractured, men don't really hold the same. What would you say, like value?
Weight.
Exactly, as they did, previously in the family, because women have been like the focus for so long of holding a family together that the man is kind of like just a good addition to it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Your
up
job's to
until-
make money. That's it.
Exactly. And essentially that's what we get told. You're only
Right.
good when you're performing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's sad to say that, but it's
It
the
is.
nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But a lot of these men that are suffering in silence, we all admit that we've gone through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gone through that. We're going through that now in some
Exactly.
senses, right? Like, especially the people listening, like, they're like, man, as a man, you're like, I just feel like I'm here to, provide, and that's kind of
Exactly.
There's so
Something-
much more.
Exactly.
Something interesting that I came to realize was in a relationship, right? No matter what the relationship is, you can figure out who's in charge by your fear of making them upset. So if you're afraid to piss someone off, they're in charge. And so I find that a lot
That's
of
interesting.
men specifically, they're afraid to piss off their wives, right? Which I'm not saying go and do it intentionally, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying
Now I got to do this. No.
yeah, right. But I'm
Thanks,
saying
Alfredo.
if there's something to fight for, right? Like if there is like a core value that is absolutely like a line in the sand for you, right? That's something to stand up for, right?
Yes.
And you can't be afraid about pissing off your spouse,
Exactly.
right? And a lot of men, they're just passive, right? They're idle, and they're like, well, no, I just don't want to fight. Right?
Exactly.
And I get it,
I'm
right?
a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you guys are going through a rough patch and things of that nature. But
I get it. Yeah.
you God will hold you accountable as the priest of your home.
Exactly.
You know, whatever blood gets spilt symbolically, spiritually, God will reclaim that of you.
See, that's filthy. And held accountable for the things that you say and don't say.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
because as you know, fathers and the spiritual mentors, if you will, and such, we have the responsibility to the people that don't necessarily know,
Yeah.
how to go about doing this thing we call life, to go about pouring into them, everything that we've learned over the past, 30 years or whatever it might be. We have that responsibility, but if you never take the time out to actually do it, then you're setting them up for failure. So I tell my wife this all the time with my little one. It's like, hey, when I'm going about correcting her, unless I'm doing something that's like over the top, don't talk to me. Let me do what I do, and then we can go back and have a conversation.
Yes.
So if you're not gonna jump in when I'm telling her, hey, you did this wrong, but then you jump in after I take action, now you're condoning what it was that she did that I'm going about correcting her for. You know what I mean? So don't just jump in when it's convenient for you. Like, you were wrong when you said this. Like, no. Acknowledge everything that led up to this point. That way we can go about correcting everything.
Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that.
So I snapped on my wife about that the other day. You know what I mean?
Wow,
But
yeah,
I think that it's important because otherwise, it's like we just said, we're condoning the actions leading up to what it is that society sees now.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it makes you a divided kingdom.
Exactly.
Right? And
Right.
divided house can't stand.
Exactly.
So you guys
Yeah.
have to be a united front, especially for children.
Exactly.
I always say that to Kata. We have to be a united front.
Yeah.
We can't be having discussions like this in front of them.
Exactly.
Especially if you're disciplining something, because now, I have someone on my side.
Exactly.
Daddy's hard ass. He's not gonna let me do this, but I can go behind his back and talk to mom.
Exactly.
And that,
Kids are
that's
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids are smart. They pick up on that real quick.
Yeah, man. So then, what is that saying that they have? About tough times and the kind of people that they make.
Tough times create.
So tough times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times.
Exactly.
And the cycle completes.
Exactly. And you just think about that and where we are in that cycle.
We are reaping the rewards from the strong men before us.
Exactly.
And you actually told me something super interesting in history, right? Like at every peak of the superpower in the world,
yeah.
at one point, like the Romans, the Greeks, whenever they were at the peak of their strength in the world, that's when they started to explore gender. What is it? What is it?
Theory.
Gender theory. Yeah. What?
They get
Fluidity.
Gender fluidity. Yeah, I'm not super PC, so gender.
They get hyper focused on anything sexuality
Exactly.
and gender roles.
Yes.
And that's exactly where we're at right
And
now.
that was at the peak of their power,
Exactly.
Yeah.
right before their downfall. Mm-hmm. And what are we doing right now?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
Precisely that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of confusion going around. And there's a lot of people that are, what's the word that you use? Condoning the confusion, right? Things that are mental illnesses, right? Are now, it has to be accepted. Right?
Exactly.
And I think that's also being passed down through academia, right? Academia, however it's pronounced. Because I was speaking with a counselor the other day, and this individual was going to school and telling me how they no longer want to fix mental illness, right? They want to treat it, and they want to figure out a way for you to live life along with your illness, right? So they no longer want, like if you have an addiction problem, they try to figure out a way for you to be a productive part of society with your addiction. So they no longer want to remove the addiction. It's a part of you. It's there for a reason.
Yeah. We'll feed you a little bit less than what you're used to taking in, but you're still getting your fix, but you can actually be productive in society.
Yeah. And I found that ridiculous because
Yes.
it just goes to show the depravity and the corruption and the breakdown of us as a society. If the high educators are passing down these mentalities and these this doctrine of demons, down to the newer generation.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to be running the show, in a
Exactly.
decade from now.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's what the whole thing with pedophilia,
It's just the same,
right?
Yeah. They start loosening the laws,
Right.
You know, the penalties
now
for pedophilia.
because that's what they're saying. They're the MAP, the minor attracted person. Like, what the? You got to put
Yeah.
a name to it. Like, what are you doing?
Let's call it what
it
it is.
already has a name.
Exactly.
You're just trying to soften it up and
Yeah.
make it more like socially acceptable to say because pedophile hurts.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Because
No
like,
matter
I don't want
how-
to be called a pedophile. Call me a minor attracted person.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
so
no.
I really wouldn't be surprised if over the next few years, like the sentences and whatnot that are doled out to people that commit these sexual crimes on minors starts to slowly dwindle.
Dude,
It
You know
is.
what I mean?
it's already
started
happening.
already.
I think in California there was
Yep.
a couple things that changed up already.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, it's funny, man. Like, so when I was a cop and we were taking people to jail for meth. Like they had meth, it was a felony.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of my tenure, it became a misdemeanor. So like what I used to take people to jail for, now I can just write you a ticket
Yeah. Wow.
and see you later.
Yep.
I'm like, what? And now, dude, I mean, that's drugs. That's a separate thing. But that's exactly like a good example of the trajectory of the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you used to be, you're a pedophile. Oh, you're in trouble,
Exactly.
right? Now it's like, oh, you just need someone to talk to.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We'll help you work this out,
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can keep your addiction. We just need
Exactly.
you to be a productive part of society.
bro.
No.
But even to the point where they might even stop making people register as sex offenders.
That's a thing.
and
That
such.
is a huge because now you're like, oh, I don't want people knowing my address.
Exactly.
Discrimination.
Exactly.
Inclusivity, man.
It's wild,
It's killing
bro.
us. It
Exactly.
really is killing
It
us.
is wild.
I had a question for you guys.
Send it.
So, I want to backtrack a little bit. When you guys talk about a kingdom, your family and your marriage being a kingdom, can you describe what your role is? Because I feel like that's important for people to know and for me to know and understand, because your role determines the next generation, your kids and them. And this is the kind of thing that I think about when you guys are talking. How is that next person or next of kin going to be influenced within this society? And what is the importance of them being raised as a strong female or a strong man in this upcoming society that seems to be kind of declining, as you guys say?
Yeah.
Do you guys mind if I start?
Yeah, go
Do it,
ahead.
yo.
Man, so I think we've had a series on this prior that kind of touches on everything, where we're talking about being this warrior and just the different phases of being a warrior. You have the lover, of course, the fighter, the king, and the friend, right? And in different phases of your marriage or otherwise, you end up exhibiting characteristics of all of those things throughout. Where at times it calls for you to be the warrior for your family, just the lover of your family and such. I think that that's exactly what our relationship looks like, within the kingdom, right? So, subtracting any of those characteristics from our kingdom ends up setting our future generations up at a detriment.
Yep, that's very well said.
Yeah,
Very.
Yeah.
that's it.
I completely agree, and that's my definition as well. The only thing that I would add on to that is, as the father, as husband, as the priest of my house, it's my job to educate and to cultivate spirituality. To make sure that my little girls are just 4 years old, but they have to understand that there is a God, right? And He oversees us, and He's all powerful, and He loves us, right? And He wants a relationship with us. For my wife, we have I don't want to say an unequal yoke, but
It is.
it is okay. So we'll call it that. We have an unequal yoke. She believes she's more accepting. Her lines are a little bit more blurred. I'm very set, and this is right, this is wrong, and we get into arguments about homosexuality. We get into arguments over the trans movement. We get into arguments over Halloween. We get into what have you. You know what I mean? And so I'm there to draw to just like God gave us barriers to protect us. I'm there to also set barriers for my kids and my wife to protect them. And like you said, we have to instruct our kids so that they have a standard, right? And they when they grow up and in this confused world, they realized they can be able to tell that something's not right, right? And they said that if the world's going to hell in a handbasket, I don't want to be part of that.
So I just wanted to clarify something when I was saying, unequal yoke, it's not that we're unequal, in the abilities and such, but the fact that men are called to do different things than women are.
Yeah.
And typically the women or the woman tends to be that lover.
Yes.
Be more accepting of the things that your kids do and such, and then it's usually on the father to come back like, hey, what the hell, and go about correcting, even though that hasn't been the trend over the past few years. That typically was the role that men were playing, and that's the only reason why I say unequally yoked is a thing.
Right.
Yeah, the way I meant it was spiritually. Spiritually we're at different levels, which is normal. Everyone has their own level. So
Yeah, dude, you guys are freaking. I don't even know what to add to that. I mean, just my perspective would be, if I don't lead them, if I don't set the course, the world will.
Exactly.
And I don't want to be the dad that has a teenager or as a daughter on a stripper pole,
Exactly.
and I'm like, how did she get there?
Exactly.
You know exactly. You know what I mean? Like, whether you were conscious or subconscious of it, you played your role into that. I want my kids to be able to make good decisions and know that at the end of the day, no matter what they go through, God is going to be there. That's it. I think we talked about it last week, or we mentioned it a lot, and I always say, I got my warrior identity from my dad. My dad's like the tough, he's the warrior, he's, told us, to stand up for things, to take care of your family, all these things for sure. But I got my faith from my mom. And my warrior identity saved, I leaned on it so much in my earlier careers in law enforcement and also in entrepreneurship. My warrior identity served me, but my faith is what saved me. I went into a really dark place, and my warrior identity could not get me out of it. If anything, my warrior identity maybe got me deeper into darkness, because I just tried to fight something that I was losing, like something I couldn't beat. And when I got to the point where I was ready to give it all up, my faith is what saved me.
yeah.
And so I want you guys to really think about it. Like, when you were kids, what kind of gifts, like material gifts, were you given, as a kid for Christmas? Because for me, it was always like, I don't want to say a BB gun, but like a Nerf gun. Or one of those like styrofoam swords or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are different things than what you would give to a female.
Yeah.
Right. So you give a female like a doll, and then oh no, you had to take care of them like this, and they show them how to be like motherly.
Yeah.
Where even for women, giving their son things, maybe not nowadays, you're giving them things to make them into a warrior, if you will. Right. So you're giving them these things that they become combative. Small part, yes, but it's still a part of.
Yes.
The expectations that women have set on their kids. And now we're trying to get away from, we don't have to have them be combative. They can be loving in all manners. Like, yeah, I mean, I can be loving, but in the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it? We said a couple weeks ago with Jordan Peterson. What did he say?
You have to be capable of violence.
Yeah. Be capable of violence because.
I love it.
Yeah, you have you do. You really do.
Oh, yeah.
You're not like. I want the whole thing, right? Like, there's being capable of violence, and you're not. The ability to commit violence is what makes you peaceful, right? Not. I'm messing it up. Hopefully, we'll.
No, you're right on track.
Yeah, it's something like that. Like
the ability to go about using violence, but knowing that you don't have to.
Yes,
Something
is what
along
makes
those
you.
lines.
Yeah, is what makes you dangerous.
Exactly.
Like, not being violent isn't what makes you dangerous. Like, when something hits the fan and you are incapable of defending yourself and your family,
That's a scary
you are
spot.
weak.
Yeah.
That is a scary place to be.
Yeah.
That is a scary place to be, and a lot of men never think about that. Look at where the world is going. Look at all the violence that's happening right now, and you can't you. If you imagine having to protect your kids and your wife, and you cannot, whether because you're physically incapable or you just haven't trained in weaponry or anything, if you can't defend them, you're in trouble.
I mean, you think about it, man. If you're walking out there on the street and you're an easy target, right? You have your headphones on, like,
Right.
you know, over your ears. You're not paying attention to anything. You're more than likely going to be the person that gets robbed.
Yep.
You know, or otherwise.
Right.
Where if you got like one earbud in or whatever, and you constantly got your head on a swivel, people are more than likely not going to come after you
Exactly.
unless there's like a larger group.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
When you walk with purpose.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Instead of just like leisurely, like
Neander. Yeah.
And, like, how are you going to defend your family when that time comes?
Exactly.
Sorry, did you have more to
No,
say?
no,
on that?
no.
No. Okay. So going back to the toy thing, and I don't remember if I said this on the podcast earlier, or if it was just a conversation between you and I, but there's a study that some toy making company made, and to study how children play, right, with certain toys, right, and so they put boys and girls together to play with action figures, right, and so the way that boys play is and the way that girls play are extremely different. Okay, boys are more. It's in their nature to be more aggressive, right? That's why you have to teach boys restraint, right? You can do X, Y, Z, but you're going to be in trouble or what have you. So the point I'm trying to make is, the boys, like let's say that there was a Batman action figure, right? They became Batman, right? So they would
With the
make
voice
a
and
voice
everything.
like Batman. They would do the things that Batman would do and fight, you know, the assailants and what the bad guys, the villains. Right?
Rachel.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Whoa, what, bro? Chill.
Yeah.
And then you have the girls, right? And they did not become the character, right?
Yeah.
They personified their personality into
Exactly.
the character,
Exactly.
right? So then they took Batman and they made him start kissing, you know,
Yeah.
Catwoman, or they started, you know, like grabbing whatever, and they started, you know,
Yeah.
acting
Like
their
lovey.
character
Exactly.
through the doll, right?
Interesting,
And
yeah.
it goes to show how much men need a positive role model, right?
Exactly.
Because they need to see who they are becoming, right?
That's so
And then
good.
to further add to that, they actually are passing laws to. First of all, Hasbro is coming out with lines of toys that are gender neutral.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. And there's laws
does that
coming
look
out.
like?
Yeah, psh, I don't know. And so, and then they're coming out with laws that say that if you don't have gender neutral toys, you're going to be fined.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So we're
That's
gonna
tough.
get ready for that. That's
Yeah.
coming to a Walmart and Target near you.
Yeah.
Not that I shop at Target because you know they hire Satanists and they try to.
But we don't realize
groom
when
your
we're
kids.
children playing with toys
Man.
that we are.
That is crazy.
Like you saying, everyone who was playing with Batman wanted to be Batman. We emulate what we want to be, even that young.
Oh yeah,
To
absolutely.
be a certain role model superhero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you start eliminating that or seeing less of it with children, it's
Yeah.
a scary thing, and also it can really shape your future. It's a scary thing,
It is,
for
man.
good and bad. You know?
Yeah. You guys know Warrior Port Society, right? John Lovell.
Yeah.
Great content. That dude's awesome. He wrote a book, and part of his book, he was talking about he has two sons, and I think the oldest son asked the younger son, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And the older son says, mine would be super smart. Like, I want to be super smart. And his younger son says, no, I want to be super strong. And the older son goes, why super strong? Because then I can beat the bad guys. So the way they're thinking is in a superhero, you know? And then the older son was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. That's better.
Yeah. I like the superpower as well.
Yeah, right. Because it's the way these boys are thinking is not making them kiss and stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
right. It's like, how would I beat the bad guy? What would be the best to beat the bad guy? Because we're constantly in this hero story. And as a little kid, when you're playing like toy soldiers or you're playing like guns with everyone, it's this hero. Like you hear the explosions in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like you're shooting arrows
And they're
bazooka-
making them with their mouth.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because that's the imagination of I am going through something like what a hero will go through,
Yeah.
and that's what these young boys need.
Yeah.
They don't need to be given pills to chill, like they need to be taught.
Yeah.
They need to be rough towels with.
They do.
Exactly.
Kids love being rough towels with.
Exactly.
Absolutely love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I'm thinking about how my nephew is right now. He's about to turn 1 at the end of December. And him just from an early age, like picking up stuff and like just smashing it, right? And I can say with my nieces, it was never like that. They were super like, laid back and like just placing stuff. They might have threw stuff every now and then. It's like, hey, no, don't do that. But then they like mellowed out. Where my nephew is like uncontrollable. You know what I mean? He's constantly throwing stuff, bashing stuff against one another and such. Where I think that's just natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So where exactly does that come from? It's just born into us.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't have a boy yet, but that's kind of
Yeah.
how I would perceive it.
It's because we're different. We're
Yeah.
designed different.
Exactly.
You know, like men were more of the aggressors, you know what I mean? We're the protectors. That's why we have testosterone. That's why we grow bigger. That's why we're stronger typically, right?
Yeah.
There's some strong ass females out there, you know,
Yeah.
that's cool. But mostly men are the stronger sex, gender. And it's the way God created us.
It's all biological. If
Yeah.
you go back to just saying hormones, testosterone and estrogen. I mean, females also have testosterone and estrogen.
Yeah.
Just lesser levels of.
Lesser levels of, so let me not confuse this, as it's confused a lot. They still have a higher testosterone than estrogen, which you would think would be counterintuitive. This is females, but males just have a higher percentage of testosterone to estrogen. Because you need both to kind of control the body, regulate organs,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how much hormones really do. Like a lot of people just think, men have a lot more testosterone, and that's why they smell funny, and that's why they're angry, right? Or women have estrogen, and that's why they have periods and whatnot. But it really goes so much farther, like osteoporosis in women, right? That's because of a lack of estrogen, lack of testosterone. For men, it's terrible. It regulates
Leads
our
to so many things.
mood, and it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Like you said, organ control and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many processes in the body that are regulated by so many different things. But going back to why boys play a certain way versus girls, I think that's a factor as well. It's innate in us to want to be more aggressive, want to run and run with other people, and then the competitive aspect is something you also see in boys. Boys want to race each other. They want to fight each other. Like that seems to be so innate with boys and males. And once you stop accepting that or saying that it's bad, I think that's where things go a little differently in
Yeah.
a man's life.
Yeah. If you try to fight, your nature instead of working with it, it's a bad place to be.
Right.
Did you guys ever have like back in middle school or whatever? You guys ever have like an enemy, like a kid you didn't like, and then you guys
Arch
fight?
nemesis?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
That one
Really?
that would steal my girlfriend, even though she wasn't my girlfriend.
Don't talk to her, bro.
Yeah.
Don't talk to her.
And then you guys actually duke it out, right? And then you guys
to
are
me the
best
other
friends
day.
afterwards. Yeah, did that ever happen to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
It's funny because I had this guy. Shout out to Rodrigo. Me and him don't really talk anymore, but
But I'm still shut you up, bro.
Yeah,
If you listen,
yeah. We haven't talked in a long time, but if we ever do reconnect, it'll be as if no time passed. So, anyways, that's our story. We for whatever reason we hated each other. I don't even know why. And then we were always like threatening to beat each other up. I'm gonna beat you up. No, I'm gonna beat you up. And then
Exactly.
finally we were just like, okay, fine. Today after school, meet me in the alley, right? And so we duke it out, and afterwards we were just like both tired and panting.
Who won?
And he was like, "You want to come over? You want to come over to my house?"
Who won?
I got this movie, and I'm just like, it's crazy, man. Like boys, right? Like we just like, okay, it's over. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
Absolutely.
Like for the most part.
So how did
we
it
don't
end?
really
How-
get
like did it? We're both tired. We're done. Or we're like,
no, it just we were like we were punching each other, and then I don't know. We just like stopped at the same time, and we're just like we're tired, and we're just
Yeah.
like locking eyes, and
Yeah.
then
Oh,
You good, bro?
yeah, yeah, and I'm just like,
good now? Are we friends?
yeah, and then out of nowhere he was like, "You want to come over?" And I'm just like, Okay. You know? Yeah.
I feel like that's another aspect of men as you get older. You know, there are people that, you know, we get along with each other, right? And then there's this aspect of we fought battles, but at the same time you give each other respect. And because of that, that's that relationship.
Exactly.
And you're respected because you have a level of danger. You have a level of strength, you know?
Yeah. And that's a core of a team.
Yeah.
You know, when we did, you know, the tactical training, it was cool because I saw these guys step up to another level that, you know, I serve with them in one capacity, but to see them kind of tap into their warrior spirit, I'm like, I'm gonna ride with these dudes. That's what's up. That's what's up.
It's
And
great when you see that.
yeah, and it's the shared suffering that makes that part of it.
Absolutely.
It's
know?
funny that you say that, the equal levels of, I forgot how you worded it.
Oh, like just knowing that other person has that strength and that danger and that ability to.
Because it's like when we locked eyes and we had that moment, we're just like, yeah, we're both cool. We're
Yeah,
both strong.
exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
like
that's-
Hey, he
we're-
will fight.
We can both fight. You know, we're courageous.
It's a
and
great realization.
There was like a level of respect
Yes.
and like that we automatically just had for each other. We're just like, all right, I see you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a fight I had in grade school. Similar situation. Only the guy was just much cooler. He had Jordans and everything, and I just thought I dressed nice, you know, and this is grade school. And then somehow we just started talking crap to each other. And he's like, you want to go outside? And this was the first time hearing it, like, to my face, and actually a threat. And I was like, yeah. And then after school,
Hell yeah, I do.
this kid's waiting. So listen, I was working out back. This must have been the 5th or 6th grade. I was already working out, thinking I was tough, right? Because I felt like I had to show how strong I was against a new group of kids. And this kid was huge. You know, he was just taller, probably weighed 50 pounds more than me. We go outside. We're in the grass right by the. I want to say the exact place, but we're at a park and in the grass. I don't even know how it started. It's not like round one fight. You know, it's in a game.
It's like a Mortal Kombat. You're both like just bouncing.
Where's the referee? I need a referee.
But right away, he was just ready. Like his stance was ready, not like in a fighting stance, but he was ready for me, and I wasn't. And I'm like, but I did take initiative. I walked up to him and I grabbed him, kind of like wrestling. For some reason, we watched wrestling growing up, right? So you think you know what you do when
I'm
you
gonna
clinch
choke
up.
slam you right now,
Yeah.
bro. Come here, brother. Come here, brother.
So I clinched up to some degree. You know, I grab his neck and then I grab his waist, and the kid takes me and just throws me over his shoulder.
Damn.
And I'm like, you just gotta get up. You just gotta get up and get up. Grab him again. I felt his weight. And I'm like, I'm so small. Threw me again. I was like, all right, we're good. You know?
You should have
I
stood
said
up.
we're good.
You should have stood up like Undertaker with your eyes rolling back. Like, you've done it now. Ding. You're like, you messed up, buddy.
It was something.
my final four. Have a Goku moment and start screaming.
What's wrong with this kid?
I feel like everyone has to have that done to them once.
You
I
have
agree.
to.
I mean, that's when
I
sometimes
agree.
people get humbled later in life.
Yeah.
but
Exactly.
It's great to have it done to you and learn from it.
You got to
Yeah,
get
right.
tested because
Yes.
everyone thinks they're the big dog until you get punched in the mouth.
By the big
Mike
dog.
Mike
right,
Tyson.
by the
Yeah,
real
Mike
big.
Tyson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mike Tyson said everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're all badass and these keyboard warriors. They could say all this, say all that. When the moment comes, will you perform? And that's the real. That's the real test.
Yeah.
When the new year comes, are you going to be disciplined to do your workout? Right. When your marriage hits this really soft space and you guys are fighting with each other and you're not sure if it's going to work out, are you going to have that love to continue to move forward?
You make it work.
Are you make it
You
work?
make it work.
Exactly.
Because you haven't been tested. So like that's part of what I want in life. Is that's why these Tough Mudders and all these like obstacle course races are they're booming. They're like $1 million businesses because you have all these people that, not to say anything bad, but they just haven't been tested to the level that they think they have been.
They want to prove to themselves.
They want to
something.
prove to themselves that I can be someone, that I am someone, that I am worthy, that I can perform.
that I am a warrior.
Yeah.
And you think about it, that's what we're taking away from our kids, man.
Yes.
You know, when we're not doing the presidential fitness test and all that other craziness, we're taking away their opportunities to go about showing their resilience.
Yes.
Or
we don't
building
want to
their
test them
resilience.
because we might hurt their feelings if they fail.
Exactly.
But let me tell you, failure is a part of life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Failure is part of the process. You
Yes.
have to fail. If you only have a story full of success, you've never been tested.
You know,
Exactly.
and I think that that's partially why we're starting to see so many people moving back in with their parents. You know, where you're having like the 30-year-old that hasn't really established a career and all these other things, like moving back in with their parents to feel safe again.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
That's-
unfortunate.
That is.
But it's becoming more, you know, of the norm. So I don't know how to go about doing that, man. I told my wife, you know, if my little one is not like working or actively going to school, she's not staying with us. As harsh as that is to say, all you're doing is just building up the expectation, like, I can always just go back and live with my parents. You just got to throw it out there, like, no, hell no, you're going to end up having to figure out your own way, and that kind of puts it in their mind, like, I got to do something. You know what I mean?
I feel like I don't have kids, and you guys do. I feel that with being a parent, do you feel that your kids need to feel that type of suffering to kind of understand what's going to be difficult in life, and it kind of guides how hard they have to work? Or do you know what I'm saying?
do.
It's more a matter of
So do they actually have to experience those, like,
tough
tough
moments
times
that
to
we
be able
did.
to
Because-
learn?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
that's the difference, right? When I try to put my kids into tough moments, I can control
Sure.
the severity of it. But when life kicks you in the balls, it doesn't hold back.
Exactly.
Of course.
It'll kick you 10 out of 10.
Exactly.
Pain.
Yeah.
But you can't control it. And then
Sure.
why would you want their first experience of failure or pain to be from life where they can't control?
Exactly.
If you are responsible of your kingdom and you're doing that, like, you can instill a little bit of discomfort. Get him some small wins so that when that moment comes and they can earn that big win on their own.
the reason why I ask is if I look back, and I've had this conversation with one of my best friends, if you go back to our parents' generation, it always seems to be harder. At least it is for me, it is for my friends. And they weren't able to give us the comfort of, this is what it's going to be like to be hard, and let me kind of slowly expose you to it. And this is how my friends are with their kids.
Yes.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to slowly expose you to a little bit of hardship or a little bit of this because you're going to need it. But back then, my parents, I feel like, since their hardship was so much greater than kids are, you know, right now, or parents, young parents growing up like you guys, they don't. How did this conversation go? In short, generations are getting better in terms of not feeling so much hardship because the parents before worked so
Yeah.
hard to get
Right.
us to where we're at in terms of being parents.
Right.
I guess for me, I feel like they do need to be exposed to that kind of stuff because then they start taking the things that they have for granted, right?
Yes.
Because if we don't go about exposing them to, hey, you know, we might live in this nice area, but I mean, right now, this is my house. This is not your house, you know, off the rip. You know what I mean? You're going to end up having to put in some kind of work to be able to live in an area like this. Of
course.
Otherwise, you're just going to end up having that expectation of, oh, I don't have to go to school. You know, right after I graduate high school, I'm going to be able to live in, you know, the most affluent area and such, and it's just going to happen for me. That's not the way the life works. You're going to end up having to work for these things. But if you have that expectation of success just off of the rip, you're going to end up failing. And if the first time that you fail is after you are supposed to be considered an adult, and you know that's when you start encountering that adversity, if you will, you're not going to end up knowing how to deal with it if that's your first time actually experiencing it.
Exactly.
So they have to go through those moments where, you know, it's kind of like a manipulated situation where I know what the outcome's going to be. I'm trying to get you to understanding why it is that I'm doing this for you, and then like, hey, what did we learn?
Yes.
You know, throughout
That's
this
it.
whole process. You know,
That's it.
Yeah.
And what can get carried down, right, from generation to generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the best thing you can do as parents, because you can't prepare them for everything in life, obviously,
Correct.
right? And we're only going to be here for a short period of time with them, anyways. But the best thing we can do is give them a strong spirit, you know, and the mental capacity, the mental tools for them to not give up and figure out the solution to the problem they're in.
I love that.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why we have training. That's why we have boot camp.
Yeah.
That's why they have the academy. Is you're in a controlled environment before you go out into the real world and deal with the real monsters.
yeah.
And we all know, like what we've been talking about this whole episode. There are monsters out there.
Exactly.
They're everywhere, and we have to prepare our children to be able to deal with that in the moments that we're not there to protect them.
Yeah, man.
Which you said we're not always going to be there.
Exactly.
So
Man, I just think about it like this. Like the way that I grew up, I lived in the hood. You know, up until essentially I went to my second year of high school, where it was nothing but minorities, and all you saw was fights every day. People were selling drugs in school, had knives, guns, all that stuff, like surrounding you. So you had to be hyper vigilant, know who you're dealing with, and try to go about avoiding the situations if you really wanted to, right? But living in a more expensive area and such, your kids aren't going to have that same experience that you had. So they're not going to have that I need to be on the lookout for any kind of malbehavior, if you will, because that's not what they're used to seeing. So as a result of not seeing those things, they're not going to have the knowledge of going out into the world and having to be on the lookout for people, because their inherent thoughts are everybody around me is good, because this is what I've been living with my entire life. So not going about talking to them, showing them like, hey, there are people that have it a lot worse than what you have it. Be thankful for what you got. We're definitely setting them up for failure, because we know the people at the bottom are always trying to take from the top, and vice versa. Yeah, so
it's good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, boys.
Good place to wrap it up.
That's a real good place to wrap it up. We went over some heavy topics today. Well,
Stop eating sugar.
stop. No, I mean, I really appreciate you guys, man. This is it's an honor. It's a pleasure. And I was telling Jason on the way over here today, outside of being with family and like having breakfast and stuff, there's really no other way that I want to spend my Saturday mornings. Like these conversations, I truly look forward to it throughout the week, because I know we're going to talk about something big. I know it's a place that's just, there are no masks here. We don't have to pretend to be anybody that we're not. We're here to just share and have real conversations and explore these topics that other people want to hear. And obviously it's something we want to talk about, something that benefits us and our families. And I just walk out of these conversations with so much more to think about, so much more clarity and direction on the man I want to be. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Jason, for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys. For me, it's essentially like a lecture that I was so waiting to go to, because I was more listening than anything, and it was the greatest thing. I can't even explain it.
That's awesome.
Watching your podcast on YouTube is amazing. So just being here live felt more of a performance that I paid for, that I needed, and maybe I could say something like a heckler at a comedy show. That's exactly what it felt like.
Sir, sit down, please. Put your shirt back on, sir. Put your shirt back on.
But it was great, and that's what it felt like. And
I appreciate
I'm glad
it.
I was able to chime in. I had so much I wanted to talk about, but at the same time, you guys are so good at kind of bringing together an idea. And
Not scripted,
I
right?
know,
You saw
not
it firsthand. We
scripted,
just off the riff. No, we'll have you back, man. And if you want, if you're free, obviously we'll have you back. I think these are great conversations, and we're glad that you're a part of it. So
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for
as always, appreciate you, boys.
absolutely.
Till next week.
Redwood out.
Right.